It's a disastrous dozen of away defeats on the trot for the town as we lost 3-2 at Oxford United on Tuesday evening. Alongside me to look back on a night which once again offered a whole lot, delivered very, very little. It's the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, Rob left, but he left the gun behind because we grabbed hold of it and shot ourselves again.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
That they do, yes. This podcast won't, though. We'll reflect on a disappointing night of football right after this intro.
I believe our supporters are the best supporters in the country.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in the Football Content Awards. This season, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned before the intro, we're looking back on Oxford United 3, Luton Town 2, and even now I still can't believe I'm saying Oxford 3, Luton Town 2, because, Jimbo, this was a night that, if the lights had gone out at 9 o'clock, and that was that, it would have been one of the best nights of football we've enjoyed for a long, long time. For the first hour of that game last night, it was true Luton. It was free-flowing football. It was nice. And yes, there was a mistake in between all of that to get them back into the game. But it was good. I went down at half-time. And everyone's coming up, this is good, isn't it? This is much better. This is the real Luton. People were energised. They were excited. Where I've referenced before how people just stayed at the bar and cracked on. This time, people were getting their drinks drunk quickly so that they could get back in for the second half. It was wonderful. And then, just same old problems come to the surface.
There were so many positives that happened in that first 45, maybe even first 60 minutes, but who wants to hear about that right now? No, nobody wants to, because of what has happened at the back. I just can't get my head around it, and really, I'm sorry to say, like, that was the first time last night where I've thought that Luton are getting relegated here. That's the first time. I know there's other people that have been proponents of that theory for a long time, and we've recognised that they're in a relegation battle, no doubt. But when you've done so many things right, and you've scored 2 goals away from home, and you still can't win a game of football, yeah, pretty despondent of that.
Yeah, still can't even draw a game of football either. Yeah, I mean, we've done plenty of away loss review podcasts, but this one's the one that probably annoys me the most. And if you think back to how angry I was after the Middlesbrough game in particular, I'm not necessarily angry. I'm just annoyed because we played so well, and it's the same people doing the same things. We'll come on to the goals in a minute. They're embarrassing. There's no other word that you can use. Certainly the third one. If you see the third one, if you're out there with a young kid who goes and plays football for his school or for his kids' team on a Saturday morning, and you see defending like that, you'll laugh your head off. To see it on a professional football pitch is an absolute... It's embarrassing. That's all I can say about it. But 2 changes to the starting lineup. We've referenced regularly since Matt arrived. He's going to rotate his front 3 to keep them as fresh as possible. Jacob Brown out, Carlton Morris out. Carlton Morris needed to go out, really. He'd run himself absolutely into the ground over that Christmas period. We advocated him missing the Notts Forest game for that reason, but they didn't. They gave him the 90 minutes in that. Elijah Adebayo and Zach Nelson came into the starting lineup. And the football that we played out of the gate was really, really, really good. Positive, free-flowing, fast, fluid, into the midfield. When the defence did have it, they weren't dwelling on it. They were moving it even if it was between each other, they were moving it a whole lot quicker so that Oxford couldn't cover our midfield. We were getting our wide players into the game. Okay, we struggled to get Elijah into the game because his touch was off last night. He didn't have his best night at the office by any stretch of the imagination. But up to that point, we were doing really, really well. And Matt Bloomfield's got this saying about the final third, which has slipped my mind with amongst all of this stuff that's
putting the ball at risk.
Putting the ball at risk. And we were doing that. You know, we were getting into the final third. He referenced after the Preston game that we'd got into it more than any time this season. I didn't get a chance to look at that particular stat last night, but we couldn't have been a million miles behind it, certainly in that first half. It was all looking really, really good. And when we took the lead, it wasn't a surprise. Okay, it might have been a surprise that it was our first genuine shot at goal, but we were in the positions whereby if someone was going to score, it was Luton, and it was a lovely goal as well.
Absolute rocket. Wonderfully taken, and it was deserved at that point. I mean, the first half, you can't understate it. Luton was a better team, comfortably, and how they managed to concede one is beyond me. Then they did it again twice afterwards, but the 2 goals were wonderful. To go behind, to get pegged back, and then score again quickly and get a goal line decision like that. You're thinking, hello, have things turned? And that's just not how the end of the story happened, because all of those positive things, all of those good incremental small bits of progress completely overshadowed by the 3 goals that conceded, and the fact that you've led a game of football, looked comfortable and lost. And I don't know where you go with this now, because it's not on the manager, it's not tactics, it's not formation. Those things were sound and solid, looked good. These are the things you're talking about, and how Luton played, putting the ball at risk, which is a really... I love the phrase, and I did a piece on it about it because it seems so obvious, but that's exactly what Luton weren't doing, and now he's got that. So he's fixing problems, but the minute he fixes one over here opens up. And I compared it in a match report to, the boy who puts his finger in the dike to stop the dam from going through. But he can do that. He can put his finger here, and then a crack opens over here, and there's just this never decreasing set of problems that he's having to deal with. And I feel really sorry for him, because it's not him. It's just you can do all that, put all those building blocks in place, but if your defenders aren't doing the absolute basics, then you're in bother. And it's not an isolated case, and so you see it again and again and again. And I came to that conclusion that I didn't want to come to last night, and I was hoping that it might sort of ease, as it often does when we give it a day between that, and then I come in and speak to you. And then it hasn't. There now seems like there's only one possible option to make this change. So one last hope, and that's the transfer window. And we're not seeing a lot of movement at the moment, and time's ticking and people are getting nervous. But that seems it to me now, because there's no point waiting for defenders to come back from injury. Mengi, Lockyer, if they come back a couple of weeks before the end of the season, I think we'll be lucky. No point waiting for them. Reece Burke, unfortunately injured all the time. They're going to have to go into the market and fix this. And I don't know if that's going to be the case, because you see in other teams and other clubs signing players, and Luton are currently not. Now, maybe they've got a few aces up their sleeves when it comes to the end of the transfer window and they get them. But then maybe the argument, I can see people's argument saying, well, why not try and get them early on? And, people are always now going to reference back to a phrase that Gary Sweet used in the unveiling Bloomfield press conference, when he said they're going to try to be aggressive in the transfer market. I see people quoting it a lot. They don't quote the next 3 words, which I think are even more important than those other ones, which are, if we can. Now, we know January is a terrible window to do business in. So, if we can, means it should now be, I think, this is essential. It's people are worried now, and I can't blame them.
Yeah, that's right. We said it last week. It was good to hear from Gary Sweet. We hadn't heard from him in a public setting for a while with regards to on-field stuff. We'd seen loads of programme notes and all this, that and the other, but we hadn't heard from him. And then when we did hear from him, he gave you guys your headline of that, we're going to be, I've seen it quoted, aggressive Luton in the transfer market. But when you come out and say that, it has to be backed up. Now, they'll probably be sat there and saying there's 11 days left of the window, judge us after the 11th day of that transfer window when February the 3rd comes around at 11 o'clock and the window slams shut, as Sky like to broadcast to the world.
And that's true. That's fair.
Yeah, they're absolutely justified in saying that, and that's why I won't criticise the transfer window until then, because we start criticising them now, and they bring in 4 or 5 players over the next 11 days who look stupid. That's us, so we will judge afterwards. But you referenced it right then. Other teams around us, and we saw one last night because he scored the equalising goal. Cardiff equalised the last night from a new signing. Today, Stoke City, who are, 3 places above us, have just signed a Manchester City left-back who was at Coventry when we played them in the playoff final. Portsmouth have just signed a striker from Australia that apparently is really, really highly rated. And yet Luton are seemingly doing no business. I know you're going to probably ask about Makosso at the next press conference when you get a chance, because he seems to have vanished off the face of the earth. But even then, we're told he's one for the future. Well, sorry, but the future can wait until the future. The present is of paramount importance, and our future right now is in League One, because I don't see how we can stay in this division with this set of defenders. And you're absolutely right with what you say. If we're waiting for Lockyer, Mengi and Burke as the answer, I'm sorry, but time will expire before we see any of those. Okay, we might see Reece Burke somewhere this side of March. Might. And it's only a might. We're not going to see the other two until March or beyond.
Reece Burke is back on the grass, so it could be sooner than that. But the other two,
who knows how long we're going to see him for when he is back? What are we going to see him for? And again, this is no criticism of Reece Burke. His body's made up the way it is. We all know how it is. If we're relying on Reece Burke to come back and keep us in the Championship, he needs to be playing 15 games of football, and he's not going to play 15 games of football. And it's as simple as that. I take you back. What are we, 4 or 5 years, whenever it was, when COVID was about to strike? We were in this mess under Graham Jones, probably in a worse situation, has to be said, in terms of points to the fourth from bottom than what we are now. That should be stressed. But even so, we were going down under Graham Jones, make no mistake about it. And he signed Cameron Carter-Vickers. Whoever the 2025 version of Cameron Carter-Vickers is, he needs to be in the building. And to be quite honest, he needs to be in the building by Saturday morning as well, because he has to go into that side against Millwall, who throw every single ball that you can, long throws and everything else into your box. We saw it at their place. We only just managed to hold on to it at their place. I wouldn't trust these defenders, based on what I saw last night, to repel that aerial attack on Saturday. And it will be that. Alex Neil's no different to Neil Harris. Play 6, he might play a little bit more football than Neil Harris. He'll do well not to. But ultimately, their strengths are still going to be sending centre halves up for set pieces and having the long throw held into your box. And we need a leader alongside Mark McGuinness in the centre of that defence. We need a warrior alongside him, because we'll come on to the second and third goals in a minute. I mean, the equaliser is, I'll be kind, tame. They've got in down their left-hand side. Dembele was a bit of a pain in the arse all night, actually. He obviously had a point to prove after Liam Walsh nearly decapitated him in the home game. Got a cross in. It's only like I said, it's a tame cross, to be quite honest. I'd almost turned away, expecting the defender to clear it and, see where the ball was going to land. And then Holmes, I mean, he's not even on his heels, is he? He's almost going backwards. And Hellick, a centre half, the exact same position as Holmes at the other end of the pitch, ghosts in front of him. And he's not, he's not fleet of foot or anything. Ghosts in front of him, gets a shot on goal. I haven't seen it back. Last night really has annoyed me. I really wanted to be coming in here after the first hour in particular, talking about a really good away performance, ending that hoodoo, and not having to go down this route of the last 12. So I've not watched it back. At the time, I thought Kaminsky could have done better. He definitely seemed to get 2 strong hands to it, but it's trickled in the corner. I'm not blaming Kaminsky. Holmes has got to beat his man to the ball. It's basic defending. You've got to defend your penalty box. If you can't defend your penalty box, no one else is going to. They're not going to say, oh, well, we'll feel sorry for you today and I'll stick it into the car park. No chance. It's in the back of the net.
I mean, I can only think that you don't expect a man like Hellick to be scissor kicking it in from there.
But you've got to in this situation, Jimbo, haven't you? You're in a Well, do they think it? I don't know. But newsflash, lads, we are in all sorts of doo-doo here. You have to be anticipating when that ball is in your box. You've got, forget who's around you, forget your teammates. You've got to be the one who makes sure that if it's near you, you're the one that gets to it and gets rid of it. How you get rid of it, I couldn't give a SHIT, but get rid of it. Because someone, you can bet your bottom dollar, particularly a form side like Oxford were, 4 wins, 2 draws under Rowett, now 5 wins, 2 draws under Rowett, is going to be attacking that.
You can't argue anything about that. You know, I'm finding it quite amazing in this season how actually quite ruthless all the other teams are. You know, we were talking about this in the Premier League, weren't we? 1 chance, 1 goal, and that's all you get, and it's good night Vienna. But it's happening in the Championship, and you know those first 2 goals of Oxford's were half chances, I'd say. Really, they were just lively to it quicker than Luton, got in front of their men.
These aren't even strikers who are lively to it. The 2 centre backs and the left back were the scorers last night. You know, it's a joke. Positive though, when we've conceded soft goals in this run before, that's been it. Kaput. We've gone under. Not last night. Within 5 minutes, we were ahead again. Got a free kick in and around the edge of the box. Jordan Clark floats it over. Not sure if he was aiming for McGuinness or if he was aiming for Adebayo, but thankfully Elijah missed it and McGuinness got on it, headed it goalwards. Have to say my instant reaction was that it looked in. It's obviously close because it's gone to goal line technology and it took the referee an age for him to whistle for a goal and everything. But, you know, we're straight back in front. McGuinness, it's a familiar goal that we score. It's a good goal and we can put that mistake behind us and go again.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's all positive stuff that was building, and there's the whole like tick box that you can do of all the good stuff that you'd expect to see, and all the good stuff that happened, and some good luck and stuff like that, and it still is not good enough. Just an absolutely spot on tweet, and I really should have noted down who wrote it, but. It just went through a list of things. We went, right, we score first, we lose. We come back from a goal down, we lose. We go in front, we lose. You know, and listed all these different things and just said we lose every single time. And it's you had lots of different options of why these problems might have been occurring earlier in the season, but you've chalked so many of them off now. The only thing that people are saying now is that they're not good enough. Or maybe the confidence low. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's something else that I'm not intelligent enough to understand. It, you know, many things. But there's sort of there's no excuses now, are there? There's none of them.
No, there's not. The weight of evidence is certainly in support of what you've just said, that certain elements of it aren't good enough. Yeah, this team hasn't been able to defend all season. You just think back to the first game when they got done 4 against Burnley. That's Burnley who barely scored a goal since. It's forgotten how to win now. It's just forgotten how to win. And Matt Bloomfield referenced it in the post-match when he said the instructions was to go and get a 3rd goal. And the longer that second half went on, the deeper and deeper and deeper we got. You know, if we were defending the other goal, we'd have took the fence out with us and would have been in Hollywood Bowl by the time we'd finished. We were dropping that deep. You invite good teams and form teams onto you, you're going to have to do a lot of defending. If you have to do a lot of defending, you bloody well need some defenders, and we haven't got them at the minute. We should have been 3-1 up, though, shouldn't we, on the stroke of half-time? Do you know what? If that had ended up in a goal, that would have been one of the best team goals Luton have scored in a hell of a long time, because there must have been 8 players involved in that, getting the ball up to Eli. Just put your foot through it, man. Even if it ends up in, you know, Swindon, I don't really care. But don't run into the defender. Get a shot away. If it's a piss poor shot and the key, you know, turns out to be a back pass to the keeper, well, so be it. That would be annoying, but at least we've had a shot. Don't run into the guy.
No, I mean if you're looking at players that aren't very confident, then Eli's one, and that's just over the course of his career. We know that when he's on a hot streak, he's on form, and when he's not, he struggles. He's in one of those dips at the moment, but then so is everyone. He's not scored in 9. Carlton Morris not scored in 5 or 6. Jacob Brown, similar. There's just... I mean, there's an argument to say they're not getting the service, and I know we'll come on to it, but you saw when the subs were made and Alfie Doughty came on, suddenly crosses going into the box. They weren't anticipating them because for 6 weeks they've not had that option. There was no one near him. But so there's a case to say that, but you know, the goals happened, didn't they? So I think we can park that to a certain extent for another day. I know probably people are screaming at me now. Today there's news in there, and rumours doing the rounds that Luton have had a transfer bid for Richard Coney of Wickham rejected. So maybe they're trying to fix that. You know, I asked Matt Bloomfield about Coney, and he gave the answer which I expected him to, which is out of respect for his former club, which he spent 20 years of his life at. He didn't want to speak about other players, but he also didn't deny it as well. So it's a read between the lines scenario there, and that's what maybe this rumour is suggesting. So we'll wait and see there. But when you're playing that good in an attacking sense, then and they're still losing, we know where the problems are, and that's where the reinforcements need to be brought in.
Yeah, that is the positive. He's seen all of these problems in the first 2 games up close and personal. Look, he should have been in this football club a hell of a lot earlier than he was. He should have. There's no way around it. We kept Rob far too long. To go into January with Rob and then sack him off in the first week just sets us back. It does, you know, whatever the rights and wrongs and whatever the whys and wherefores are, there isn't another club who sacked their manager in January. They all sacked theirs in December, and they sacked theirs in December for the same reason, so that the manager's got enough time to build, to know what he wants, to go into January and sign everyone. Let's not forget we've signed 2 players in this window, and Matt Bloomfield wasn't here by the time we'd signed both of them. So who knows where we're going with that? But he's been thrown into... Well, I mean, he's been thrown into a swimming pool where the deep end ain't even got a bottom, has he? It's sinking and sinking and sinking and sinking at the minute we are, and it's not good.
There's only so much a manager can do, isn't there?
These aren't technical things, Jimbo, are they? These are mental things now. These are, you know, picking up your man, that's a concentration thing. That's a will, that's a desire, that's a personal pride thing. You've either got that or you haven't got that. And if you haven't got that, right now you're no use to us, because we have to have people who are defending. Let's bring it on to the second goal. Corner kick comes over. First of all, we don't even need to concede the corner, but we do concede the corner. Comes over. I don't know whether it was Holmes who was meant to be marking Brown or whether it was Hashioka who was meant to be marking Brown. All the goals were in the opposite end to where we were sat, and I couldn't see which one from a distance. Again, I've not watched it back, so I won't criticise. But the one thing I do know is both of them have turned their back on his shot. How many times does the ball end up in the back of our net from a defender who is no further than a yard or 2 away from it, turning his back on it? How many times has this got to happen before someone puts themselves in front of it? I'm not asking them to turn into Franco Baresi of the 1990s. Just put yourself, what you're paid to do, between the ball and the goal, and keep the sodding thing out of it, and let's win a game of football. 2 of them turned their back on that last night. Again, I'm not going to pick out whose man it was and whose it wasn't, because I've not seen who it was. But I know one thing's for sure. 10 minutes later at the other end, a Morris rocket hit Hellick right on the chin. Did he duck out of the way of it? Did he get out of the way and make sure it ended up in the top corner of his goal? Did he heck? Took it like a man, went down, got a bit of a rub from the physio and cracked on. Why can he do that and we can't? And this is not the first time he has done it. The first Middlesbrough goal, he turned his back, it ended up in the top corner. His mate alongside him is an absolute perennial doing this. It is a disease that is in our defence, and I don't think you can coach that out of them, Jimbo. I think that is a desire to get in the way of the ball.
Like I say, if you're looking at all the possible ramifications of why things happen, and they're constantly being chalked off and ruled out, then you come to the answer sooner or later, don't you? And And I think that's where people are now. They want reinforcements. They want new bodies in here who can do it. I know you said you want it in by Saturday. I don't see that. And even if they did get them in, whether they could register them or get them trained and on a training pitch and up to speed straight away, I don't know. But it's been awfully quiet.
I only want it in by Saturday because we know what we're going to get. We're going to get the exact same aerial bomb. It wasn't even an aerial bombardment last night. It was just half a dozen crosses in the box, and 3 of them have ended up in the back of our net. Okay, that long throw was mighty, and why, oh why, when you've seen how far he can throw it in the first half as Holmes put it out for a throw-in where he's put it out. Just put the thing out down the pitch where he can't launch it into your box, but he has done. Funnily enough, it didn't result in anything, but the ball's gone straight back to the guy. The cross is, it's orbited Neptune before it's come down. It's in the air so long. And I've got to be honest, I was following the flight of the ball, right up there, and it's up there that long for the third goal we're at now. I'm just expecting, and even though he never leaves his line, so I don't know why I was expecting it anyway, I'm just expecting Kaminski to be under that, catch it or punch it, whatever he has to do, and we crack on. And I get the shock of my life when I see an Oxford player, not anyone around it. It was almost like COVID and social distancing, wasn't it? It was absolutely pathetic. No one around it. The ball has been up, I'm not even exaggerating, that ball has been up in the air a good 5 or 6 seconds. For someone to look around and see, because there's got to be someone who's not marking someone, right? Otherwise he wouldn't have been absolutely stone cold free. Whoever that is who's not marking someone, and again, I've followed the flight of the ball, so I'm not going to criticise who it is and get it wrong or anything like that.
5 seconds is an awful long amount of time, by the way.
But that is
you
how,
reckon it's 5 seconds?
Absolutely. It was up there for an absolute bloody age.
I know it was up there, but I wouldn't say 5 seconds. But okay, by the point, it's not your point. I'm sorry.
It's not. But either way, where the hell's the goalkeeper? Where is he? He's stuck on his goal line. So there's no... Even if you're stuck on your goal line, scream blue murder at someone. Mark up, mark up, mark up. Do something. Make someone aware of the fact that the left-back has managed to make his way into the penalty box beyond everyone, and he's got at least 2 yards either side of him and no one anywhere near him. He's not going to miss, is he? Can't miss. It's impossible to miss. That's the 10th goal we've conceded inside our 6-yard box this season. I'm good to you guys. I've looked back at all the goals that we've conceded this season, earlier on today. 47 goals in the league, 10 of them inside our 6-yard box. So over a fifth of the goals we've conceded inside our 6-yard box. Not our 18-yard box, our 6-yard box. When is our goalkeeper, and he is a brilliant shot stopper, right? Let's not say that I'm saying something that I'm not. He is a wonderful shot stopper. But the rest of his game leaves an awful lot to be desired. And he has been in our goal 21 months now, near as damn it. And we've not been able to get him off the line. What are we coaching? What are we coaching him? He's still as stuck to his line now as when he first arrived. I'm not expecting him to come out for every single ball, but goalkeepers are protected like they'll never be protected at all. When a ball is launched up that high and for that long, you've got to come and get rid of it. Surely you can see that your defenders have been struggling all game to get the ball out of their box. Something as simple as that. Just come and get rid. James Shea, when he played against Preston, was coming for absolutely every cross. For Portsmouth, when he went in after Kaminski got sent off and we were getting cross after cross after cross come at us. Shazy, who must be, 6 inches shorter than Kaminski, coming for absolutely everything. Kaminski comes for nothing. And I wonder if that adds to the pressure that the defence is under. A lack of a dominant goalkeeper. 10 goals in our 6-yard box. That ain't good enough. It's just not good enough.
I understand where you're coming from. I think it's a secondary concern there. That you've got to be marking. There's nobody marking him.
Oh, absolutely.
They're a million miles away from him, and it's not like he isn't wearing a bright or yellow shirt. So it's not like he's snuck in there.
Yeah, I'm not excusing the defenders one little bit. Of course he should be marked. Someone's got to have been marking thin air. Again, I don't know who it was because I was following the ball and it went miles into the sky. But ultimately, he must be able to see 6 yards in front of him that the geezer's unmarked. Go and get the ball before he gets it. And then, when you've got the ball, presumably you've done what James Trafford does and fall flat on your face as well, to kill a bit of time. Then, when you get up, you find out whose man it is and give him a bloody rocket. and then get the ball down the pitch. Don't just stand there like a lemon and wait for him to head it in, because he ain't missing. Can't miss.
Well, no, he had 5 seconds apparently
He did.
to pick his spot, but the defending is, I just don't know
It's
how.
a joke.
I haven't got the answers. I haven't got a single. I mean, I really feel sorry for Matt Bloomfield having to try and unpick that one, because I don't think that's a coaching thing. I think it's a
Desire.
I think it's a mental thing now. I think, isn't it? It's the
Yeah, I mean, he referenced psychological away from home, didn't he? Or if he didn't, then Mark McGuinness did. These interviews all blend into one when you hear all these losing ones after a while. And yeah, it probably is psychological, but, someone needs to be a man and take responsibility for it. And again, get rid of it and then give whoever's issue it is a rocket and make sure it doesn't happen again. I'll take you back to Arsenal last season. Ted Mengi was in Ross Barkley's face when he didn't track Emil Smith-Rowe for their second goal. That's Ross Barkley, the player of the season after about 5 minutes of him playing for us last season, and Ted Mengi was in his face. You don't see it. You don't. There's no. Their heads just drop and they trudge off back to the halfway line like, oh, we've just conceded that goal again. Oh, well. And I'm sure they're hurting. And I believe every word that Mark McGuinness said after the game that they are hurting. But it's just words now. Actions are needed, not words.
well, yeah, because there aren't any words that can explain it. I don't think, and yeah, you've got to go to the training ground. Yes, you've got to work on it, but that's surely been done to death now. So that's another thing off the list of possibles, isn't it? I mean, if the same things keep happening over again, over 2 different managers, well, even with different players as well. So it's not always been the same backline. It's a major issue, and certainly on the road. I mean, Oxford, whether they were improved in the second half, they were building up a bit of momentum when they got the equaliser, the second one, but they weren't prizing Luton Open because of the strengths of the formation that was there. Their back four was working really well. Nakamba, fantastic game. Kraus and Clark, both all good games in midfield. All things that we hadn't seen for ages when it was back 5. And now we're seeing it. So that's good. Getting the ball forward, putting the ball at risk, scoring goals away from home. Still losing. And it's the same thing you're talking about constantly.
Nearly everything about last night was good, apart from when it came to defenders defending our penalty box. And it's been the case for far too often this season. We were really good at Coventry, defenders defending our penalty box. We were really good at Norwich, defenders defending our penalty box. There's countless times this season when we have looked good, even if we've only looked good for 5 or 10 minutes. There's countless times when we've looked good, and what undoes us is we can't defend our penalty box. Now, the problem we've got here, Jimbo, is you look at this formation, and why is Marvellous there? Marvellous is there to stop people going through the middle. So where do people go then? They go down the wings. That's absolutely brilliant for Luton, because now we've got 2 doubling up on the left-hand side. Last night, Nelson and Bell on the number 7. And on the other side, Isaiah Jones and Daiki Hashioka doubling up on Dembele. I think he was 23 in squad numbers. So in theory, we've got 2 against 1 in the wide areas. So the cross should be a lot less likely to come in. But when the cross does come in, you've got McGuinness and you've got Holmes, or you've got McGuinness and you've got Mengi, or you've got McGuinness, you've got Burke, whoever you've got there to head balls away. And that's exactly the position that Luton Town want to be in. They want to be in a position where their 2 beanpole centre-halves can head a ball away against 1 striker all of the time. And that is what you buy McGuinness for. That's what you buy Holmes for. That's what you buy everyone else for, because aerially you expect them to dominate the opposition and defend their box successfully. Now they're not. So we're going to have to go out and buy the next one and hope that the next one can defend his box an awful lot better, and hope that he's a leader alongside McGuinness so that we can have some sort of structure to that back line, because that is how teams are going to attack us now. They're not going through the middle anymore. We've blocked it off. Marvellous is far too good to allow people to go through the middle. The only time they're going to go through the middle now is when Marv isn't there, whether that's because he's not fit or because he gets injured or anything like that. So we are going to have to improve this defending our box, because when we're defending, it's our box that we're going to be defending now. We're not going to be defending straight through the middle and getting parted like the Red Sea. We're going to be having to defend our box in much the same way that we had to defend our box in The Great Escape. And I referenced it earlier, Cameron Carter-Vickers was the difference maker. We now need that difference maker, and we need that difference maker quick. He should have been here already. I mentioned it before the transfer window opened. Ronnie Edwards was just such an obvious loan signing once Southampton said that he was going out on loan. He's played in the Championship. He's got a point to prove. He's still relatively young. He ticks every single box that Luton look at, and he went to QPR.
Well, the difficulty also that you've now got in the transfer market, and I refer you to those three words again, if we can, on the aggressive side.
No, not if we can.
No, but I'm saying that, but...
We're not in an if we can position now.
No, I know that. I'm saying that those are the words that were said, if we can. Now, the situation is that Luton are in a dire strait relegation. Not dire straits. You can get out. It can be get out of, but
Luton are on a one-way ticket to League One.
Yes. But Luton are in a relegation strife, and they don't pay as much as the other clubs. So you may, in previous years, have been able to pick up some players because they saw Luton were doing well and punching above their weight. But now you're going to have to go into a side that are possibly flirting with League One football. So are you going to get the best players? Does that cut down the pool of players that are going to want to come in? Potentially. And so that's another difficulty that they're going to have to face.
I mean, I know a few footballers, past and present, at this club. Footballers just want to play football, right? They don't really care of the situation. End of the day, they're getting they're getting paid, but they want to play football. I've yet to meet a footballer who wants to sit on the bench and watch. And when they are sat on the bench, they get fidgety, particularly at the top clubs where they can't see a pathway into the team. There will be people. Stoke have just signed a Man City left back. They're 3 places higher than us in the table. If you show enough willing to go and get someone, the players are there. Cameron Carter-Vickers was at Tottenham when we loaned him 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was, at Tottenham.
So are you thinking loans then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, a loan,
right,
yeah.
okay.
Christ, we've got more centre-halves than you can shake a stick at.
All right, so what I was saying just then, just to clarify, is if you're going to buy someone outright.
No, don't buy another one.
If you're talking loans, different story.
You've apparently brought the next greatest thing from Belgium. I mean, he's disappeared off the face of the earth, which is unfortunate, but supposedly you've brought him for the future. So you only need someone for the now. And obviously in the future you've got Mengi back, you've got Burke back, you've got Lockyer back. But realistically, by the time certainly the Mengi and Lockyer are up to speed, we're at next season. So you need someone to cover for now. Right? The signing we need to make is the exact same signing we made when we signed Cameron Carter-Vickers. A geezer who you are getting in that goal over my dead body mentality. And that's what he had. Was Cameron Carter-Vickers the greatest defender I've ever seen? Was he heckers like? Couldn't really move. Wasn't massively tall either. But bugger me, could he hold on to a striker and make sure that the striker didn't score a goal? That's what we need. Because we haven't got this over my dead body mentality now. It's gone. If it's in any of them, it's gone. And seemingly they can't dig it out. So we need to go and find someone who's got that over my dead body mentality. Are you scoring a goal today?
Yeah, I agree with you. If it's a loan signing to do that, yeah.
And that's why I referenced a month ago, Ronnie Edwards was perfect. He's gone on loan from Southampton to QPR. I think he's 23. He's played in the Championship. They must have known about him because he played for the same Peterborough team that Joe Taylor played for when they went and got Joe Taylor. And look, every time I see QPR or someone mention QPR, who's their star man? Oh yeah, it's him. Ronnie Edwards. That was I'd love to know why he wasn't flagged up in all this data. And presumably we didn't go for him because he's not on the tools that they use to recognise players. So I'd love to know what part of him, whether it was his character, whether it was whatever it was, why he wasn't flagged up. I'll never know it because they're not going to tell me, and that's their prerogative, but we need to go and make that sort of signing, and we need to make it as quickly as we possibly can. Not wait until the 3rd of February, by which time we've played Millwall and Sheffield Wednesday. We need to get him in as quickly as we possibly can, because this lot, as a collective, you can't trust them to deal with crosses right now.
I don't think you're going to find anyone that disagrees with you.
I think I will, but
but it's obvious, isn't it? That's if you're doing everything you can to try and change the situation, and things are changing, but the ultimate result is not happening, then you look at what has gone on, and that's the weakness, isn't it? You've strengthened everywhere else. Yes, the strikers could be getting amongst more goals, but did you see the 3 crosses that Doughty put in when he came on? And by the way, he looked unbelievably sharp and good. So get him in straight away, get him whacking crosses in. Jones on the other side. If you can do that after 2.5 months away, and put in 3 good crosses like that, 2 really good crosses. The other one's more of a bit of a hopeful one, I would say. And you do that. Imagine what you can do when he starts and plays the whole game, and they get up to speed, and maybe that's where the strikers will get some goals.
How easily did we get him in? How easily did we get the ball out to him? You know, these are the encouraging things. We are getting the ball into these areas an awful lot. I said after the Preston game, I don't think we need a lot to get out of trouble. We need this warrior defender, and we need him massively. We probably, if Alfie's going to play that position, then we need someone who can play left back, because Amari looks a bit flaky there at the minute. I don't know whether that's because he's not completely fit, or doesn't trust his body, or age has caught up with him, or whatever it is. He doesn't seem as confident in that left back position as he did when he first arrived at the club. If Alfie's going to drop back to left back when Chong's fit, and Chong's going to play where Alfie came on last night, then maybe that's that sorted. But we definitely need this warrior defender, and we need someone who's got a little bit of spark around the box as well. You know, it doesn't necessarily need to be God's gift as a striker, and if it's Kone, then it's Kone, and that's absolutely fine. And if it is Kone, find the fee and pay it. So we're not in a position where we can dick about and wait. Games are running out. 28. That was game 28 last night. There's 18 left, and all the big boys we've still got to come up against yet. There's only, of this run that I mentioned right at the start of it, of 13 games without anyone in the top 6 or whatever it was, there's 2 left.
Wow.
And we've done bugger all in the 11 or 10, because Plymouth has been wiped off the agenda. We've done bugger all in the 10 so far. We've got 2 left, and then it turns. You look at
that doesn't help me in my belief that
absolutely
really
not.
Big trouble. Huh?
You look after Sheffield Wednesday, just look at the next 3 games. Just the next 3 games. Sunderland away, Sheffield United at home, Watford away. How many points are you giving me in them 3 as we sit here right now? 1 if we're lucky.
I mean, I predicted a 0-0 for this game, thinking I'd be absolutely delighted with it, but I don't see how I can predict anything other than defeat at the moment, because, like I say, if you come out of a game thinking that is the best 60 minutes we've seen away for quite some time, and you're still losing, I don't know where you can go from there. No.
The only way you turn this around, apart from signing that warrior, you are not scoring to hell to high water defender mentality, the only way we turn this around is winning a game, because we've forgotten how to win. We were so in control last night, and we just dropped deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and they weren't really going at us, were they? When they took the centre off Harris, when they took the centre forward Harris off, I forgot he'd been on.
You're going to have to dig in for something, and for instance, when the second equaliser went in, that's the point where you go, right, that's it, no more. I know Bloomfield wanted them to go and get a third, and he has spoken previously that he wants his teams to go and attack, but also got to be mindful of solidity at the back. And that's the point where you go, right, we've seen this story lots of times. We shut up shop, and we're just going to grind this out now, because a point improves things.
You hold on for a Desmond, and you're out of bottom 3. You know. Thankfully, the only saving grace, apart from how good we looked for an hour and that Alfie was back last night, is that the teams around us are waiting for us. But they're not going to wait for us forever. I mean, we're recording this on Wednesday night, as we always do. Portsmouth and Stoke's about to kick off. Someone around us is going to get points. Let's hope it's not both of them in that game. You know, as I've referenced, Stoke have just signed a Man City left back. Portsmouth have just signed a striker from Australia that's supposedly highly rated. Hull have just signed a couple of players as well. Thankfully, they're not getting the results yet, but teams are signing around us, Jimbo, and we've signed a geezer for the future who's disappeared off the face of the earth, and Isaiah Jones, who, if full credit to the recruitment team, looks a really good signing and was exactly what we needed. The problem is we need more on top of that. And January was always a big month. It's loaded with big games. I've referenced it for the last 2 months. We are in the middle of a run of 13 games without anyone in the top 6, or one because Blackburn were in it at the time that we played them. That was the time where you could salvage your season. A large chunk of those games were in January. And here we are, as we're recording it right now, 22nd of January, 3 weeks after that transfer window opened, and we've signed one player of any use to us now. People are right to be critical of that. They are. Now, again, judge it at the end of the transfer window, and that is the fairest thing to do. He could still be aggressive over the last 11 days, like he said he was going to. It can still be aggressive, and it can still all turn out well. And yeah, okay, we'd have loved him in earlier, but better late than never. We would still have 16 games after the transfer window closes to try and salvage something from this wreckage. But these 11 days are bloody massive now. These signings have to come. There can be no excuses. We don't need no unscrupulous agents and all that nonsense in the first home game programme notes after the transfer window closes. And if we're talking a few quid here or there, well, we're going to have to bite our tongues and just pay the few quid, because we are talking about a serious drop-off in finances if we get relegated this season. Your sponsorships goes kaput, your TV money goes even lower into the floor. You look at Sunderland when they went down. They're a bloody big club, Sunderland, and it took them, 4, 5, 6 years to get out of League One? We were lucky we were going the other way, and we flew straight through it. When you go into it in that direction, look at Wigan right now, hovering around middle to bottom half of it. They only got relegated 2 seasons ago. You look at Rotherham, they're also in the bottom half of the table. There's no guarantees you come straight out of League One. At the first time of asking, our income will drop dramatically, and I know people out there want me to say about the 25,000 seater stadium in League One. I'm not going to do that because we're not there yet, but these are all concerns that are that were in the distance a few weeks ago that are coming at us like a train through the tunnel.
Yeah, absolutely. On the stadium point, that the stadium's not expected to be built until 2027, so even I don't want to be like putting out these hypotheticals and trying to quell your opinion on that. I understand where it comes from, but even if you went down, let's not say you would be there, even though you've just laid out a perfectly good case for it taking many, many years to get out of League One. So I'd put the stadium thing aside. We all know why that is there, and it is a good thing for the long term, but the short term now is 11 days, 10 days long from when we were speaking right now, and it's the pressure is ramped up hugely because that is all I'm seeing people talk about. That's all they're caring about.
Because people know we're going down if we don't make signings. You know, the evidence is there. Look at, what is it? Something like 14 points from 18 games, something like that. Well, we've got 18 games left. Is 14 points keeping us up? Absolutely, no. And the last 18 games are a hell of a lot harder than the last 18 games, because I've just referenced the run that we've just had of 8, 9, 10 or whatever it is, sides outside the top 6. So in theory, they're all coming in the last 18 games. So yeah, it is big. Listen, the stadium is a good thing, right? That should not be criticised. And if it has impacted budgets and things on the pitch, then that's a bullet that we need to bite. But if that was a bullet that we need to bite, then we don't need to compound that by that aggressive in the transfer window line. It should have just kept stum if that was the case. So people are entitled to think that we are going to be active in this transfer window. You're right, it did come with a caveat of if we can. But the situation we're in now is we must.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the point I was making, that those words have changed, but that was the caveat. It's just a context thing. I just wanted to. But I've seen lots of people quoting the first bit of that sentence, where the second bit it provides the context. But I think since that was said, and now where we are, and what people are saying, it's all I've read and all I've heard for a day now since Oxford is that we need to be doing bits, and
It's obvious.
it is. It's a big period.
It's like you say, this isn't crumbling under Rob Edwards' voice that had got stale. This is a bright, vibrant manager who made us look a lot more structurally secure Saturday and again last night. Didn't concede goals because of structure, conceded goals because of individual errors. Looked really good going forward last night. And I should reference, before last night, Oxford had played 6 games under Gary Rowett. They'd conceded 4 goals in that time, 2 of which was his first game in charge when they were 3-0 up, and presumably, that was against Cardiff, they were 3-0 up, and presumably, I don't watch the game, but presumably they clung on to things, having not won forever and a day, like we tried to do last night, and they let a couple of goals in late on, but the second one of those was in the 95th minute. So, genuine goals, they've conceded 2 in 5 games, and we doubled that in half an hour last night. So from an attacking output, that was really, really good last night. Is there room for improvement on that? Of course, there's always room for improvement on absolutely everything. But if we attack like that over these next 18 games, I'd like to think we're going to win a few games of football. Whether we win enough, that would depend on what happens behind them. But so he's done that. He's improved that. But what he can't do is go and defend. He can't go and mark players who are unmarked. He can't go and head across or be on his toes to get in front of a central defender who fancies scoring. He can't do that. That's for them themselves to look in the mirror and make sure that when they go on that white line, that their man does not beat them to score a goal. And if they can't do that, then his job is to find the person that can. If he's in the building, great. I don't think he is, or if he is, he's injured. Therefore, we have to go and find that person who it is. It's not my job to tell people who it is. They've got recruitment departments to sort that out. But whatever the priority was before last night, that's just become the absolute priority. That warrior defender who is just gonna stop teams scoring easy goals. Now, if we then go and concede 2 shit pingers a game, you hold your hands up and you say, our luck is bang out. Bang out. But make that happen. You've got a goalkeeper who's one of the best shot stoppers I've ever seen in a Luton shirt behind him. You got to hope that he can save a few shit pingers here and there. He generally does. 10 goals in our 6-yard box. It's criminal.
I've no doubt that Bloomfield could sort it out, but it's whether he can do it in the time. And that's a problem. It's a real big problem because...
yeah, I've no doubt he can sort it out as well.
Everything that he said, everything that he's done, bear in mind, yes, the Oxford game, he'd only been there exactly a week. So in the 3 days he had on the grass, he made them solid against Preston. Now, albeit Preston came to stink the gaff up and they didn't even want to attack and didn't have a shot on target. But
they must have scored 2 wonder goals last night because they didn't leave their penalty box on Saturday.
Yeah, that was against Watford, wasn't it? Yeah. Incidentally, I don't know why I listened back, but I did listen back to the radio and an interview with the manager of them lot down the road. Cleverly. He was scathing about his players in that game against Preston because they'd played so well apparently in the game beforehand, and his line was something along the lines of you can't be 9 out of 10 in one game and then 2 or 3 out of 10 in the next game. They won't get anywhere. And that sometimes feels like it is. You have the Preston game where everything, from a defensive sense, was like, yes, we've got it, we've cracked it. And then it's back to reverting to type, which, I've written, feels like they're hardwired to self-destruct now.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying it, don't I? They go and get the gun and shoot themselves in the foot. This is the thing that's winding Luton fans up. How many teams have beaten us this season? And not how many teams have Luton lost to. How many teams have beaten us this season? Because they're probably the 2 numbers are probably half of the other number. It's only half the teams that have actually beaten us. The other half of the games we've beaten ourselves. Is it 18 losses, 17 losses, whatever it is? Got to be getting on. Yeah. Got to be getting on for 8 or 9 that we've beaten ourselves now. Got to be getting there.
Yeah, comfortably. I mean, teams that have totally outclassed you can count them on the fingers of one hand.
Burnley.
Really, can't you? Yeah, Burnley, Leeds, Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough, although even then after half an hour, everyone was hunky-dory until we threw the white flag in. Sheffield United. So let's give you Middlesbrough 4.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've lost 17 games. So 3/4 of the games we've lost, we've been beaten by a team that's been no better than us.
Yeah. It doesn't make for good listening. It doesn't. I thought that I might be lifted slightly for some reason, but even all the good stuff, just you can't count that in the same positive way as you usually would do because of what has happened with the defending that game, and it's beyond worrying now.
The only good thing is these defensive cock-ups do only seem to appear away from home. At least on Saturday, for example, we're at home. At least we can cling to that straw whilst we've still got it to cling to. And let's hope we can cling to it for an awful long time. Because otherwise, I don't know. Positives, you mentioned Doughty. The good football. Those midfield three that started the game were really good last night, weren't they? And if that's the second time that midfield three has been in operation for us, so, as games and familiarity continue, you can only expect them to get better and better and better. And okay, it's harsh on the likes of Pelly and Walsh who can't get in, and certainly Walsh who's done nothing wrong necessarily to be impacted, but that's what you want, isn't it? When someone's given their chance, i.e. Krause, you want him to take it by impacting the game. Great goal last night, really, really good finish, rocketed into the top corner. Could have had an assist. I think it was him who put Elijah through. If it was someone else, I apologise. Could have had an assist against Preston when he sent Jones through, but it was just slightly too long. They're the kind of things. Obviously, Clark had an assist for the second goal. They're the kind of things that you're looking for. McGuinness, from an attacking point of view, he's a focal point of our set pieces, an assist and a goal. So those kind of things are good. If we can ever stop loading that sodding gun and firing at ourselves.
I think we've tried to pick out the positives from most games this season, and we've even done it here. It's just that people, and quite rightly, don't want to hear it.
Nope. And we don't really want to say it again either, to be quite honest, because I've had enough of sitting there watching Luton concede these goals that are so disbelieving that you have to look at the big screen straight afterwards to make sure that what your eyes just told you actually happened. The last time I did it was Norwich's second goal, when Chong decided that he didn't fancy putting the ball out that day and Stacey got him behind it. I could not believe how wide open he was for that third goal last night. Like you say, he's wearing a bloody bright yellow shirt.
Yeah.
Not good.
No words.
Not good. Not good. That's where we are. Big 11 days. Huge. Possibly the biggest 11 days that we've had since we returned to the Championship, and that includes the Premier League and all of that that went with it, because we're not the only ones who are struggling to see a way out of this without reinforcements. People were saying it to me last night, and quite rightly so. The evidence is right in front of our eyes, and it keeps on coming up and mounting us and biting us too often for us to ignore it, really. And, second from bottom, okay, we're only in the bottom three on goal difference, but teams aren't going to wait for us forever. And, by the time you listen to this, we might not even be in the bottom three on goal difference. Portsmouth might have come out of it and we're in it on points. Okay, we play first on Saturday. That's only a good thing if we win. If we don't, and if we defend like that on Saturday, it'll be another nail, towards a coffin that's heading towards League One, unfortunately. No correct scores for this one. At least I had my correct score for about 10 minutes before we decided to shoot ourselves for the first time at 1-0. Yours didn't last very long at all, which I was pleased about. But ultimately, no points for either of us either.
No, but I think we had cause for optimism to give those scores, whereas previously, until Bloomfield came along, I would have just gone defeat, because that's what it's been. I mean, that's what it still is now. Which is another thing that sort of knocks you, doesn't it? Because, essentially, when you're talking about a new manager bounce, it lasted for a 0-0 against Preston, didn't it? I mean, you can talk about the first 60 minutes against Oxford, but ultimately it doesn't really count for much, does it? So hopefully there is still some spring in that, scenario, but it's gonna take an awful lot to reignite it.
Talking of reigniting, what the hell was all that bollocks about before the game last night? Lights, fireworks, fireballs. It was 18th against 23rd in the championship. Jimbo, I thought I'd gone to Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's not for me, that sort of stuff.
Not for me either.
No.
I mean, to be fair, the fireballs were good because I was starting to, get a bit of a shiver on. So they were handy, and then they even took them away to take away the comfort factor from it. Could have done with one of those in the stands so I could press it every 10 minutes and warm myself up a little bit. But what is that all about? Please, no, we don't need that in our game, surely.
You can add it to the list of things that, not for me.
If we was on room 101, sat with the thingy right here, that's going straight in. Along with our defending, it's going straight in.
I mean, we might be able to give ourselves some light relief if we did that rather than talking about the next away game if it carries on like this, because at least we'll have some fun there talking about, bonkers things in football rather than just the same old.
Room 101. Yeah. I should just say, when the Plymouth game has been postponed in a couple of weeks' time, Jimbo and I will do a sort of deeper dive thing into everything that's going on and things like that. So if you've got any questions for us or anything you'd like us to talk about in that, drop us a message in the comments of any of the videos up until that Sheffield Wednesday preview. We'll collate them all and we'll do a sort of deep dive after the Sheffield Wednesday game, won't we? And
what would be better if they could send us voice notes, because then we could play it, couldn't we?
Voice notes,
do that,
questions, topics, anything that you want us to discuss in all of that. We'll do that after the Sheffield Wednesday game, just so that we've got a little bit of content to bring out to you in that sort of 10 or 11 games that we've got without a game. Probably it'll come after the transfer window closes, because hopefully there's plenty of reaction to the transfer window after that Sheffield Wednesday game, not to mention before it. That's pretty much it for this episode of the podcast. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening over the last few days. Obviously, 2 podcasts out to you in a short space of time, so we really appreciate all of the support that you guys gave us. And again, they're going to come thick and fast for the remainder of this week. So if you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button and you'll get notified of each and every time that a podcast drops.
Yeah. Do I have to keep telling you to do it?
Yes.
Bloody well do it.
Numbers are going up. It's having an effect.
I don't think it's because
I don't think they're listening to me.
No, I don't think it's because I said anything, but it's just because the people have cottoned on, maybe. I don't know.
It might be that.
The People's Podcast.
That's exactly what we want to be. So, yeah, get your comments, get your questions and everything else in, and we'll cover them all in one podcast after the Sheffield Wednesday game. Thanks also to the Barber Club and the Lower Level in Luton for hosting our studio, to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and Ted Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. Until next time, which will be a preview of what is now a massive game of football at Kenilworth Road on Saturday afternoon, from Jimbo and myself, just stop shooting ourselves in the foot, town, please.
I believe our supporters are the best supporters in the country.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.